Okay, I'm talking to Kyle Anderson here from Brand of Sacrifice. G'day, Kyle. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, 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 good. All right. As someone with no hair, I see all that hair on the back of your head, and already I'm just jealous. So I'm gonna be harboring that the whole time we're talking. Uh, how did the band come together back in 2018 in Toronto? And Toronto, for any people that don't understand, Toronto is completely different to Quebec. Quebecois are completely crazy people in Canada that, tried to secede from the Union. Toronto's a much more stable am I right?
Yeah, they're definitely a different breed out there, that's for sure.
Yeah. So how did it start back in 2018?
So at the time, prior to this, I had a career as an insurance broker, and my
Exciting.
very exciting stuff. Yeah, definitely. Uh, my guitar player was also working for a tech startup at the time, and we were quite unhappy with our situations, and we kind of decided to just go back to our roots and write some really heavy music for fun. And we wrote our first EP called The Interstice together while working those jobs, just two guys having fun, just really not thinking much of it. I themed the EP after my favorite anime and manga called Berserk, and kind of put it out in the world, and didn't really think that many people would listen to it. And it ended up gaining a lot more traction than we expected, and now this is what I get to call my career. So that's sort of where it all started.
Well, that's good in the music business. If you do get to call it a career, that's a pretty lucky thing. Um,
Yes, definitely.
so how would you describe your sound? Deathcore, yeah? What is deathcore?
I think deathcore in itself is it's got elements, the speed and uh sort of dark riffing of death metal, the growled vocals, and then sort of the energy and vibe and breakdowns of hardcore kind of combined in a synthesis. And then for our music, we've even added more to that. We've added electronic elements and sort of choir elements as well to it, and industrial sounds, new metal. It's kind of we have a bunch of different things that are going on aside from just the deathcore.
So it's pretty unique.
I'd like to think so.
All right. Usually I ask which artist's music or performance, past or present, inspires you, which you can answer. But like you said, manga artist Kentaro Miura obviously is a big influence with that Berserk reference before. You might talk a little bit about that as an influence as well. But what bands, what heavy bands were you sort of trying to emulate when you said, let's do some, let's become music, let's make this a career?
So I think the main ones you're probably the main influences you would notice right off the bat would be Mick Gordon, who produced the Doom soundtrack. Most He's most known for that. You'd also have Slipknot. You'd have um, sort of the Sumerian core bands, your Born of Osiris, your Veil of Maya, stuff like that. And then um, we'd have a little bit of the Meshuggah sort of rhythmic influence, and then just some influences outside of that too. But those would be the sort of
Main one.
heavier heavier influences.
Have you played Knotfest over there? I presume Knotfest is over there as well.
We have not played it in America yet. We've only played it in Australia.
So what about the Berserk item? That's a pretty decent influence, I'm sure.
Yes, definitely. So it kind of started off with our first EP, The Interstice. I always felt like Berserk was the metal, the death metal of anime, I guess you could say. It's dark, it's visceral, it's punishing, but it's also deep at the same time. It's philosophical. It makes you think. It's not just violence for the sake of violence or gore or anything like that. There's more to what you see once you sort of get past surface level. And I felt that metal is also the same way. You know, if you're just someone that likes pop music, you might think all they're doing is making animal noises. And it just sounds like all sounds the same, but that's not true once you really dive into what's going on there. So um, I felt it was the death metal anime, and it was my favorite anime and manga, and I really wanted to just uh pay homage to that and sort of um bring other people to the good word, I guess.
Has he recognised you at all? Do you have any connection with him?
Pardon me?
Do you have any connection with him? Has he made any connection as a result of your, referencing to his music
I don't
or
think that
his series?
I don't think that he would. Unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years
Oh,
ago.
I'm sorry.
Uh,
I didn't
but
know.
but he was alive when the band was active. But I don't believe that he had seen it, to my knowledge.
Oh, you know.
But some of the team has seen it nowadays. But we'll see how that plays out.
Well, you'd have
I would
to.
love to do some official collaborations one day.
Yeah. Well, if Metallica went back to some of their early references, I'm sure that they'd be lapped up quickly. So maybe just a little bit down the track, they'll be asking you to play in their stuff. And as for death, that's a different thing. That's a conscious discussion. He probably is still looking down, but we'd have to have a different discussion about what happens after you die. And I don't think we're up for that today.
Yeah,
Okay, your latest single, Purge, was released last December, around the same
mhm.
time as you signed to Nuclear Blast. Was
That's
that a
right.
coincidence, or was that something that you organised to release with the signing?
We had the song in the works, but we felt that that would be a good option to put it out with that announcement as well. But we had completed this song prior to the summer of that year, and we did the music video in between tours. We did a tour with Spirit Box and Loathe, did the video, and then we went and did festivals
Videos,
last year.
video's great. I love the video.
Thank you, thank you.
What goes into the creative process for that? Because basically, it's a bit like I'm an old man, so I keep on forgetting names. But Ice Nine Kills, they come out with a bloody whole movie on something, and it looked like it was pretty well constructed. I thought.
Yeah, we've been lucky enough to work with some great videographers and directors. We sort of pitched them a rough idea and kind of let them go with the flow. Um, I think we're going to do a combination of that for the next album, and there's a couple of videos that I have a very uh, in-depth idea for. But yeah, it's we've been lucky enough to just work with really great directors. That's been the main
And when
goal
is
there.
when is the album coming out? Is that what's coming out next?
Yeah, so we're still in the middle of recording it right now. So we're hoping to put it out next year. I'm not sure exactly when, ideally, um, before the summer, but we'll see how things play out.
Okay, okay. And uh, you're coming out in November for Froth and Fury. Oh, I was just going to say, I think heavy music, for people that don't follow heavy music, a lot of people think it's just screamo and they sort of don't get it. And I'm an old guy that sort of thought that too. And I had a mate a few years ago that was so meek and mild, such a sweet guy, and he was lead singer in a band, a heavy band. And he said, "Come watch." And I went and watched, and he morphed into this unbelievable, just crazy, everything just coming out all at once. But if you sit around there, you can sort of understand the melody in the incessant sort of attack. So
Mhm.
it does have, but you've got to, you can't just hear a little and then just say, oh, no, 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 turn it straight off. You've got to actually listen you've got to actually turn up and consume it. And when you consume it, you sort of get, I find anyway, you get something out of it that you didn't think was there. What do you
Yeah,
think?
that's totally true. I think when you really sit down and you analyze things, you kind of realize that it's almost I think metal music can be almost tribal in a way. People mosh, people move in a certain way. It's a release in a sense. People often use that in the gym to lift more. Like there's really a connection that's emotional as well when it comes to the music that I think is special.
And I think it's not brutal. It can be, but
It can be.
I don't think that it's brutal in itself because, it can be delivered in quite a harmonic and connecting way.
Yeah,
If you look at a lot of the European heavy bands that are, female fronted and all that sort of stuff, they can be quite an attractive sort of offer.
definitely.
It's a very decent sort of experience. So if you've just heard it and you think heavy's not you and you're an old ballad, Elton John sort of person, maybe you should. Okay, so you're coming out in November for Froth and Fury. What are you looking forward to? What can the fans expect?
So we were there earlier in the year for Knotfest, and I personally was struggling with some vocal problems, which I have not encountered in my career.
Slipknot didn't come out for Knotfest, did they, this year?
They did not. It was Disturbed and Lamb of God, I believe,
That's
that
right.
were
That's right.
sort of.
Slipknot were here last year. I think they're coming next year.
I wish they would have been there for that one. I'm a big
Hmm.
fan personally. I mean, I like the other bands too. Lamb of God's a huge influence as well,
Huge,
but
huge, yeah.
um, yeah, I was struggling with I was on a medication that affected my voice, unfortunately, and I had to sort of rehabilitate for a few months after. We're back 110% now, so I sort of mentioned to the fans that we'll come back before the year's end because I want to make it up to them. So really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great time. Die Art is Murder, we've toured with them before. Great guys, so
So
looking
you're
forward
doing a
to it.
tour with Art as well, are you?
Yes.
Well, they're great too. They are. They're a great band. Um, if you could, have you played with them before?
Yeah, we've toured with them in America back in 2022, and then we were on Knotfest with them as well earlier in the year.
Yeah, well, that's important. It's important to have a sort of synergy, because it's a show. It's not just four bands or two bands or three bands.
That's right.
Because the punter gets a much better outcome from that sort of perspective, I think. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get them back for the next tour, the next tour, the next tour, and they see a video, especially these days, and they go to a European tour as a result of what they saw in Australia. And so, yeah, it's a good thing. If you could perform with any music artist, alive or dead, who would you choose and why? Of course, if the dead ones would be alive when you were performing with them.
Well, it's a tough one.
I've got lots of tough questions coming up, so.
I think, for all of us combined, we'd love to play with Slipknot. They're alive. Um, if there's a world where this ever could have happened, I would have loved to play with Prince.
Wow, yeah,
Uh,
that would have been
there's
the
probably would never have happened, but you know,
how would you cross genres? I mean,
I don't know. I don't know.
he was a creative dude, so if anyone could, he probably could have. But he was also a unique person. He used to do some. If you really get into it, he was his own man, and he didn't
Sure
sort of
was.
follow any sort of trends. And that's I think at the end of the day, from a conscious perspective, we respect people that stand up and do themselves, whether they're famous or not. If you've got friends that are that, you respect them. Still got long term. What are your long term aspirations as a music artist?
I would love to see a more of a mainstream resurgence for heavy music, sort of like what we saw with new metal in the 2000s and late 90s. Um, I think we're starting to see a little bit of that with things like TikTok, and YouTube and sort of the internet reach. I think shows are bigger than they ever have been, but I think it could still be bigger. I think the only way to do that is by having more of a cultural impact, by having figureheads of some sort. In the new metal days, you would have had, sorry,
It's all
my
right.
little one's coming over. You would have had artists like Fred Durst. You recognize the way he looks
Yes.
immediately.
Yeah.
Slipknot had the masks. There's a number of people you can think of that sort of had that impact and you recognize them instantly. And I think that's what our scene needs a little bit more in the deathcore world, and then we'll have a chance to sort of reach a wider audience.
Well, you're in the right company. You know, Nuclear Blast has a stack of it, and especially out of Europe, they've got a stack of it that comes out here regularly. So, and they don't mind promoting it, and they've got a huge number of followers on YouTube. So when you put something up, it already gets a decent audience. So
Mhm.
it's a good place. It's a good place to be. And Johnny, I know Johnny well. He's a good man. So I'm sure you have fun there. What piece of advice after all this time now that you're 55? No, you're probably about, how old are you? 20, 30, 28, 20?
I am 34 years old.
Oh my God, you haven't even started yet. You're still in diapers. What piece of advice would you give to an artist starting out? Because you know you've actually experienced a fair whack in your 6 years.
Yeah, I think ideally you just want to keep creating and don't stop. That's first where you start. And then secondly, use the internet as a tool. There's a lot of free social media outlets nowadays where you can sort of get your name out there. And that's what we did.
Yeah,
We started off with the music and then we made funny videos that kind of accompanied it. So that's a tool to use. You don't necessarily have to play 200 local shows.
no,
You could just sit on the internet and make art and enjoy
you
making your
can,
art.
you
And
can.
so that's the advice that I would give. And also make sure you have someone with some legal knowledge review any type of contracts you have and try to do everything yourself until you can't anymore.
What are you suggesting that labels would take advantage of you? God, you know, when Taylor Swift has to come out and re-release her music as "This is Taylor Swift," whatever she says on her songs, you know that she's the biggest artist in the world. You know that they're going to shaft you if they can, and I
Yeah.
think that's the one thing that's universal with, especially music business, but most business in general, where someone can take advantage of someone, they do, and because it's such a competitive environment, the music environment, if someone says, I'm going to give you some money to make something and, make you into something, you just sign on the dotted line. And then you realize, 6 months later that on page 15, you signed away, worldwide merchandise rights for the next 10 years, so you can't,
Yeah.
and you scratch your head. And George Michael did that, I think, at one stage. He had to stop for 2 years because, he just didn't want to continue with the bad contract. And then, after that was finished, he started again. So, yeah, it's good advice to have some good legal minds looking over it, not just Uncle Fred,
Yeah,
someone that knows how to look at a music contract.
definitely.
All
It's
right,
it's worth it.
it definitely is worth it. And that's the other thing I'd say about definitely worth it. Don't, you know, work at McDonald's and make money and then go out and pay to get somewhere. Don't keep trying to get somewhere for free. I know that you can do it, like you said, with YouTube and all that sort of stuff, but don't be averse. If you're going to build a business, do it like a business. And make sure you pay people, because if you pay for your photos, they're better photos. If you pay for a review, it's a better review. People are going to read it and they're going to get more out of it. So if you pay
Mhm.
pay for people to do stuff, it's like you're putting up the right picture of yourself when you advertise yourself, rather than one that didn't cost you anything. You're not
Oh,
standing
agreed.
you're not standing outside of a 7-Eleven with a cup asking for donations, because people avoid those people. And I get a lot of people coming to me for free stuff, and I think to myself, come on, get in the game. Okay, what's the best thing about performing to a live audience?
Best thing about performing to a live audience is giving out the energy and getting it back double. That could be in a festival environment where you see a big wall of death or a circle pit or whatever it might be, people singing the words. I think I personally think that club shows are my favorite still. I love festivals too, but There's just something about an up close and personal club where people can stage dive. It's hard to replicate. So I just think the energy is what it comes down to, and it's the best adrenaline rush you could ask for.
Do they sing your stuff back in a heavy scene?
Yeah, they would. I mean, some people are just kind of yelling it and without doing the heavy vocals, and some people are
I
doing
would
the heavy
they would
vocals.
suggest that the performer's just yelling it too sometimes. But hey, Barnesy, Jimmy Barnes made a career out of it, so don't
Mhm.
knock yelling. Yelling's a good thing. What's been the career highlight so far?
Career highlight. I'd say some of the European festivals that we've done, and sort of looking out and playing to 15, 20,000 people. It kind of
It's
you see
big,
the fruits of your labor in a sense, um, visually.
unless they're
Uh,
waiting for Slipknot.
yeah, and they don't care
Then,
about you,
then,
no. But
then
in this case, we were lucky enough that people were reacting positively to what we were doing. Uh, but I'd say that, and then honestly, the whole campaign for our album Lifeblood was an awesome time. Um, so there's been a lot of highlights, but I
well,
think
I'd say too,
those two.
just making reference back to the YouTube thing. When you've got 15,000 people, having fun, the advertising that comes from that is much bigger and much better than getting 100,000, a million views on your YouTube, because
Oh, for
basically
sure.
it carries on forever because they keep on remembering and they keep on talking about, etc. Whereas someone brings out a new video every day, and the great video they were talking about yesterday, they're talking about a new one tomorrow, and a new one the day after, and a new one the day after. But if you go to Live Aid and see Queen when he's got the half mic and he's crossing the stage there, you're going to remember that forever, and you're going to talk about it every time you
For
talk
sure.
about losing, every time someone comes together. And if you want to have a career, you want to have people talking about you. Okay, here we go. I'm going to finish now with a series of quick questions.
Okay.
Three personals and then a few favorites. What's the craziest thing you've ever done?
Craziest thing. I'm not a very surprisingly as a metal vocalist, I'm not that crazy of a person. Um,
If someone saw you in the street with your locks and your ink, they'd think this guy, and then they hear your lead singer on a band, they'd say, this guy's taking drugs and having mad sex every night. No?
yeah, you'd think so, but I'm kind of I'm more of like an introverted extrovert, I guess. I can turn it on in the show setting, but I'd rather just kind of be at home with my cat.
So
Um,
that's exactly what this other guy was. That's interesting. But you must have done something crazy.
that's great. That's hard to think of.
No,
Uh,
you can
crazy.
pass.
Yeah,
All
I'll pass on that one. I can't think of anything that's going to be
right.
too exciting.
All right. What's the one topic you can talk about for hours?
Philosophy or Berserk.
Really, philosophy as in, Plato philosophy.
Yeah, Plato, Nietzsche, Jung.
Really? You've studied or
Yeah, I've just in passing seen a few things. I'm actually the new record we're working on. I'm actually taking more of a philosophical approach to how it's viewed. It's still about Berserk, but I want to really showcase that it's a deeper story than what people realize. So,
my nephew created a computer game that went pretty big called Antichamber about philosophy.
okay,
So
I'll have to look that up.
that's been around for about 10, 15 years. Yeah, you can buy it there, absolutely. He made a few bucks out of it, that's for sure. But philosophy's great. And, you talk about like Socrates never said a thing. We only know what we know of Socrates from Plato, but
Mhm.
he's littered through our history. And so, that
Sure.
sort of stuff, when you think about that, and there was I went through a stage where I read philosophy a lot. So it's a pretty cool thing. What's the thing you like most about yourself?
My dreads.
Really?
Yeah.
I could never, even when I tried to grow hair when I was young, it just never grew. It just said, no, I'm not interested. So I am envious, absolutely. How long did it take? How long did they take to grow?
So the last haircut that I got was in 2011. I shaved it down and then I started growing it again. I sort of had curly, sort of pretty tight curls, almost afro like hair up until 2017. And then I got the dreads. They were down to my shoulder and now they're almost to my butt.
So is it hard? Is it hard to like? Do you wash? How often do you wash it? And how do you wash it? Must be
Yeah.
impossible.
So the roots I wash very consistently, just a residue-free shampoo and conditioner. And then the actual dreads themselves, it's going to be a combination of apple cider vinegar, baking soda, and then essential oils, and you kind of rest them inside there, and it pulls everything out. You do that you could do that every couple of months, once a month. Um, and then you could just do standard washes as well, but that's the deep clean.
I shower, and 30 seconds later, she's all dry, ready to go, ready to rock and roll.
I wish I could do that.
Well, no, you don't, because you just said that was the thing you like most about yourself. So you don't wish it at all. Okay, here we go. Let's jump into favorites. Favorite, or you do wish it, but you're happy with what you got.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let's finish off with these. Favorite album.
Ooh. Favorite album, Meteor by Linkin Park.
Oh, they're fantastic. They're a fantastic band. Favorite artist.
Favorite artist. I guess I'd have to go with Linkin Park. They've had the most impact on my life.
There's plenty. There's plenty in your genre though that are distinct. Unique and distinct. Favorite movie.
Favorite movie, The Matrix, the first
Yeah,
Matrix.
great movie. Favorite place to visit.
Favorite place to visit is Tokyo, Japan.
You're coming to Australia.
That's my second favorite place.
Tokyo, Japan. It's in the region.
It is. It's close enough.
Close enough. Favorite venue to play.
Favorite venue to play. That's a tough one. I like Summit in Denver, Colorado. That's always fun. It's not a huge venue. It's about 1,000 cap. Really small backstage, but it's just a good time. The crowd's awesome there.
Favorite food.
Favorite food is gonna be pho.
What is going to be what?
Pho. Vietnamese soup.
Is it FO? Is it?
Yeah. It's technically pho, but people call it pho.
So it's FA, but they call it FO. Well, they pronounce it FO.
It's spelled PHO, so people
Oh,
would think
PHO.
phonetic.
Sorry.
Yeah. People would
Sorry.
think it's technically faux the way you in English you would say it, but it's actually pronounced pho.
Okay. Favorite drink.
Favorite drink is going to be Malbec red wine.
It's local, isn't it? Down your way. It's is that a Californian thing?
That is in from Argentina.
Argentina. Well, again, close enough. It's closer to you than me. Uh,
Yeah.
favorite person in history.
Favorite person in history. Oh, that's a tough. Maybe I'll go with something like Nelson Mandela, maybe.
There you go. Nelson. Why Nelson?
Um, my family's of South African descent on my mom's side, so it's been a big part of my history and my upbringing.
Right?
With
When you think he had a life, and then he went in jail, and then he spent 10 or 11 years in that traumatic place that we all get in, and in your head. And
Mhm.
then he sort of worked his way through from the desert to consciousness, I suppose, or being here and now. And then he came out and he became president. It was a pretty and took over from an apartheid sort of environment at a
Mhm.
time when they were bloody going crazy over there, ringing people and all sorts of stuff. It's a pretty yeah. I refer to him a fair whack myself, so I think that's a good person. Okay, and last question: favorite tattoo? I can see you got a million of them.
I think my favorite would probably be my throat.
Throat.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
was it painful?
It was not fun, I would say.
Yeah,
It
I
took
think.
probably it was 2 sessions and it took a total of about 15 hours. Um,
Did you get it done local, or did you go over to Asia, or where'd you get it done?
so I did get it done in Toronto when I was living there. But the artist was from South Korea that
Yeah,
did it.
there's some great
Uh,
stuff over there.
he's uh he's called it's called Gni. It's GNI 666 on Instagram. Does amazing work. It's all freehand. So
And what was the first?
the first tattoo I ever got was it's covered up now, but it was on my forearm. It was a lot. You can't see it, but there was a lion that I had. It was more of like a
And you covered it
sort
up
of
because
realism.
you didn't really like it.
I covered it up not because I didn't like it, but because it faded. Because I had it done in 2012 when inks weren't quite as deep as they are now, and I actually covered it up with another lion that was done by the exact same guy that did it originally. So um, I let a guy that cover his own work up. So he that was kind of cool.
That's reasonable, then. That's reasonable. Well, that's it, Mr. Anderson. Now, when I send you or when you get the YouTube, make sure you share it.
Will do.
one of the things that I'm a pretty conscious guy, I think, and I'm not really, albeit I've been running this thing for a long time. I created it, I suppose, and I run it. Numbers are the sort of thing that it's like it's a bit catch 22 because really, we've got to get numbers in this environment to sort of be someone, but within the environment, if you're going to play the game.
Mhm.
But I just can't stand numbers because basically it's like a measurement, and consciously, measurement's just head, and I want to try and stay out of my head as much as possible to experience the here and now. And so,
Right.
the challenge is to always provide numbers for you and for everybody else that's trying to get somewhere. But I'm not really interested for myself, so I keep on getting in this place where the crew might say, "Oh, no one's looking at this," or we might change the way we do YouTube. We changed our YouTube direction not long ago, and a lot of the stuff doesn't get a lot of traction at the moment. But we're about to start a podcast, so we'll probably get some after that, and then we'll push it around,
Mhm.
and then it'll probably get seen or whatever. So, but it's a if you get caught in thought for too long, you're gonna pay a price for it. So you got to keep. That's why music's such a good environment. If you can, you've got to deal with the head as well, though. That's where the philosophy is. The philosophy is good, but it's still too much head for me these days. It's like, just meditate and detach and experience, and you'll draw on all those things as they come in. They'll come in. All your knowledge and experience will come in when you need it. Don't worry
Mhm.
too much about, fulfilling whatever TikTok or anybody else asks you to do. Do your own thing. Anyhow, enough of all that. It's a paid political announcement by, geez, they've got some crap going on in America at the moment, haven't they?
Yeah, there's about to be a big election over here.
A big election that'll change the world if it goes one way, and
Yeah.
we'll just go back to the old boring normal way if it goes the other. Let's hope we stay boring.
Yeah.
All right, mate.
Well,
Well,
I'm still Canadian, so it's not my battle, I guess, but I do live here.
where are you living in Canada?
So I live in America right now. I live in Orlando, Florida, but I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, as we mentioned.
What happened to you recently? You must have had a fucking mad storm there.
We did. I had to leave for a little bit. We were a little worried that it might hit where we live here. So we moved. We went to Miami because it was outside of the cone of the storm,
Yeah.
which it's only 3.5 hours away, 4 hours away. So
Are you up
uh,
higher where you are, or were you sort of, where it could attack you?
I'm pretty central. So it ended up being just about a category 1. So there was just branches everywhere. But I took all the precautions. I moved everything away from the windows,
Yeah,
put
yeah,
my
yeah.
computer up high, and put stuff in front of the doors in case flooding happened. But I'm on the second floor here, in the building I'm in, so
which is
wouldn't
good,
have affected.
which is good, which is good. So for all those people that don't believe in global warming, you would say, get your head ready.
Uh yeah, it's definitely a problem.
It's
So
definitely a
lots of
problem,
hurricanes.
especially when they say last year was the hottest year on record. Last year was the hottest year on record. Last year was the hottest year on record. And people keep on saying, "Oh, it's just a hoax," and it's just craziness. All right, mate. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for the chat. Have a great tour. I may
Thank you.
get to see you when you come out. Might jump to a show or whatever. If not, have a great tour. Enjoy yourself. And you every time I speak to someone, I keep on thinking about, sort of grading them on the Dave scale. And you come across to me as a thinking man's musician.
Thank you.
It was a good conversation. And I can understand how you're sort of introverted and, enjoy the cat because you're what's the word? It's the other thing. When you get old, you can never sort of draw the word that you're after. Pragmatic. You look to me to be a pragmatic sort of individual, and rather than just reactive, just what's next, what's next, what's next sort of thing. It's like, it's a careful sort of process. And I think that that's probably, in my view, that's probably, one of the reasons in 6 years you've probably done a lot because you've thought about it and you've worked it through. And I keep on saying to artists, you've got to have a good plan. That's where it starts. You've got to have a good plan. So if you're just going to turn up and play music and you have talent, terrific. But if you haven't got a plan, there's a million people out there that have talent. So you've got to have a plan that gets your talent seen by someone, by something or whatever. And a lot of times in this game, it happens collaboratively. So you've got to hook up with someone, tour with someone, find someone that wants to take you under their wing, etc. And then you do play to 1,000 people, and then 1,000 people start telling 1,000 people, and before you know it, you've got a career. But you're not going to
It's
have a
true.
career. You're not going to have a career if you just decide that you've got talent and you're going to wait until someone finds you because they won't fucking find you, not in this world, unless you've got some sort of plan as to how they're going to find you, and that plan is continually, pressed out. I'm sure when you were doing your funny stuff, you had a plan as to what you were pulling out, when you were pulling it out, and when the next thing was coming out, etc. It wasn't just a haphazard thing. And I think that it's necessary. If you're going to have a business, treat it like a business.
For sure.
Boom, boom. I'm not supposed to talk for this long. It's your interview. Sorry, dude. All the best.
No,
Thanks
you're fine.
again. Thanks again, mate. It's been enjoyable, and we're here at Amplify. If ever you want to, shake us up, just send me a message, and we'll try and pump you out somewhere.
Sounds good. Great to meet you and enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, mate. All the best. Bye
Take
bye.
care.